Hey there, I'm Abigail with Karen Leadership, and I'm here with Jen Derks, founder of Forefin, a branding and design studio in San Diego. And we're going to talk about surfing, outdoor adventure, and leadership insights from just that, making waves.
Making waves out there, literally today.
Yeah, getting crushed by waves. Only a little, it's fine. So, curious, what are your core values?
Woo, starting with the heavy hitters. So core values are something that my team put together for Forefin, and my personal ones might be slightly different, but our team's core values are rise by lifting, human connection, transparency, best interest disruption, I'll talk about that one in a second, and positive intent.
Ooh,
Yeah, and the best interest disruption is just we want the best for our clients, and we're going to have the hard conversations if it means that, even if it's going to potentially sting a little, just so that we can make sure we're doing the best work.
So it's truth, honesty.
Truth and honesty. So my personal core values probably align a lot around truth and honesty. I like to be able to trust people, and for me, the only way to build trust is to be completely open and honest and vulnerable with people. So that's something that I live personally.
And built into your company culture.
Yeah, totally built it into. Yeah, we're honest to a fault at our company. So there's a lot of transparency and hard conversations that lead to just really trusting each other as a team.
Yeah. Not easy, but
yeah,
worth it.
Once you get to know each other on a personal level, though, and you really feel like you can trust people, it just opens so many doors of possibility of how you work together and what you can take on and how you can support each other. So it's worth it.
Yeah. Just like getting out there in the waves, right?
Yeah. You got to trust that you can get to the outside, which is a challenge today. Yeah, definitely.
What is your general philosophy for leading people?
I think I'm still working on it. I think every leader would say that they're still working on it. But good. I think for me, one thing that I've learned and that I'm trying to cultivate even more is if you have the right people, you're more of a support than you are leading them. I lead the company and I make decisions for us as a group, but when it comes to the work that they're doing, I'm more of a support cheerleader for them and helping them see things they maybe aren't seeing, or just from an outside perspective, giving them feedback that can unstick them. But I think my leadership style really is to, and you've heard it before, but find really good people who you really admire and trust and let them do their thing.
And be willing to roll up your sleeves and get in there and help them get unstuck when you see it.
Totally, right? We call it the Forefin volley. We do a lot of, helping each other out. I'm happy to, I'm always saying, just use me if you need me. I can jump in and actually, help you design that or help you work on those exact words for strategy or whatever it is. So.
That's good. What lessons about leadership have you learned from surfing?
Oh, surfing has taught me so much. I could go on about this one, but I'll try and keep it short for you. So I think the biggest thing that surfing has taught me about leadership is trusting your intuition and trusting your gut. In surfing, you have to make a lot of really quick decisions and then be very committed to those decisions once you make them.
Yeah.
The ocean will tell you if you're being waffly. It'll show you that you should be more committed.
Yeah.
So I think in leadership that's true too. You have to make decisions for the team, and then you have to be committed to those decisions, because it's hard to lead. It's hard to follow somebody who's going in circles. So I think as a leader, you need to have conviction, and that's something that surfing has taught me.
Yeah. Direction, and then you get that immediate feedback. But with leadership, a lot of times you maybe don't get that same immediate feedback if your team feels that you're not making clear decisions. Do they give you feedback? Do you have structures in place for that?
Oh yeah. We're very open with each other. And then they'll, clear as kind is something we say a lot at the agency. So I think one thing that if I'm not being clear enough on where we're headed, they'll ask me to be more clear. Or I'm always pushing them to ask me to be more clear. If you have any uncertainty around why we're taking on this project or what the goal is, what the end result should look like, ask, because the nicest thing you can do is be super clear up front.
Brene Brown.
Yes, we love Brene.
Yes.
We love Brene. We're big Brene fans.
So good.
Yeah.
how has surfing helped you make a specific tough decision?
For me, surfing is, it's my therapist, it's my workout, it's my mental release. You literally cannot take your technology out into the ocean, and I think that's a huge benefit of surfing.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I can't think of one specific decision, but there's been plenty of times that I'm working through some of the things that I need to decide on for the company when I'm surfing. I'll be paddling out and kind of talking to myself and not even realize I'm doing it, but I'm working through all the things that have been building over the day.
Yeah.
You don't have that mental space. It's a mindfulness practice in its own, surfing is. So I think as far as one specific thing it's taught me or helped me get through, I think it's just all of those big decisions that you have to make, on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. You can work through those when you have space and time away from the day-to-day.
Yeah. Well, how do you find the time? You have a family, you have a team that's depending on you, you have clients, you got to develop your business.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but it's worth it every time. I think, and I don't get out as much as I want to. I think everyone would say that, but when I do make the time and find the time, the rest of the day and week, it's just so much more productive because I've had that clarity of thought. All of those things that I might fumble around on, I've had the clarity to take time, think them through, and then I know what I'm going to do. And it's also it's a mental break. So when I come back, I feel refreshed and ready to go, and I'm way more productive. I'm always telling the team, we have very flexible hours, a very flexible work situation, and it's really, go with your energy, go with your flow. One of my designers tends to we do 2 remote days a month. Now we're doing lots of remote days a month. But she tends to take hers on a Friday because she knows that she's by Friday, she's just not giving it her full creative energy, and she can do a little bit better at home. And then she also knows that she's going to cut out early, and that's fine. Great, ride your energy flows. When you're gonna do your best work. So, for me, this is part of that flow. If I don't get surfing, then I'm just like, it doesn't unlock me to do good work, to make good decisions.
That word unlock
is
super interesting.
Yeah, it's a release. For a lot of pressure, yeah.
And finding flow, is that something that you take back then when you are in the office with you, that same, talk to me about flow in general. What does that mean to you? When do you find it? Yeah,
I think if you genuinely like the work that you're doing, you want to do it. But I think that when it comes to, especially in a creative agency, when there's budgets and time constraints and client demands and you maybe have juggling multiple projects. Sometimes you don't get to just, we're not just fine artists deciding that we're going to have the energy today. So you kind of have to find that. But at the same time, if you force that, you don't do as good of work. You settle on it just to get it done. It's just a checkbox item, Yeah. So I think for me, it's more about, what's on your plate and where you're feeling you need to put that energy. So I might have had a task list for the day that involved, something for a client that's due 2 or 3 days from now, but I'm really just chomping to get at this business problem I've been having. And if that's where my mind is and that's where my energy is, I need to give it my attention. So being able to look at your production schedule and look at what you have going on and kind of go with what your heart and your gut is telling you need to focus on, because that's when you're going to be in the flow and doing the best work there.
And is there a time when you've experienced flow as a collective, as a team, that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the team flows on a regular basis, actually. I feel really good about the way that our team works together. I think that, they all do that for themselves, too. They figure out where they need to be putting their energy, and we can also speak up when we're not in that. So I think that's one thing that a team and a leader needs to cultivate, but a team needs to be able to say, like, I'm hitting a wall on this thing, or hey, is there any way to buy a day or two so I can just let this marinate while I go work on something that I know I can give energy to today? And we have to be able to have those conversations. Otherwise, if everything is so regimented, then you're going to hit walls.
So. Natural walls almost.
Yeah, but the team flow comes from transparency, like that value of being just very open and honest with each other, I think is huge.
So what happens if you don't go surfing for a long time?
Oh, it just happened during this whole COVID thing, and we weren't allowed to surf. I go crazy. For me, it really is my therapist. And when I don't surf, I get grumpy. Like, I get really grumpy.
Does your team ever say, Jen, how's the water?
Or my husband, but yeah, no, I mean, they sense it. But yeah, they definitely are happy when I've gone surfing. I'm a much better leader when I've gone surfing.
And so what would you tell somebody who's looking to get better, they're a new leader, and they're just starting out? What would you tell them? What advice would you give about leadership?
You cannot control everything, and you shouldn't. I think the biggest advice, because I kind of had to teach myself how to be a leader over the past 4 years, and I think the biggest awarenesses are that, again, if you hire the right people or if you have the right people under you, being able to pull out their strengths is what your job is. Your job is not to direct how they do things or tell them what to do or try to get them to do it how you would do it, because they're not going to. So I think the biggest thing a leader can do is really learn people and get to know their strengths and get to know who they are as individuals and foster and cultivate what they already have in them.
Is any of that insight pulled from the ocean? Is there overlap between?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the intuition. I think when you're surfing, you really have to read a lot of what's happening in the ocean. You have to be able to see, currents that are coming from a distance. You see a wave and it might look like every other wave, but you have a sense that it's going to pitch at a certain spot. So there's this element of awareness when you're surfing that I think you do bring into leadership, or you can bring into leadership, because your team is an ecosystem, and being able to read what's happening on a kind of bigger scale than individually and finding that flow as a team is something that I think surfing has definitely helped me with.
Being that receptivity and that action oriented in relation to the minute details of the ecosystem. It's being receptive, understanding all of the nuances of how everything comes together, and listening and observing more than you direct. If you go out in the ocean and decide, like, I'm just going to go get that wave, and you're just kind of not paying attention to the flows of the waves, you're going to end up in not so good spots, and you're not, you have to kind of stay humble and pay attention and listen and be observant. And all those things I think are true with leadership too. It's about being humble and staying observant, what your team needs and where they might be going off course and they don't realize it yet, So I think surfing's really helped with that. And it's dynamic. There's a sense of not knowing what to expect and being ready to face whatever is.
At any moment, you could be thrown a rogue wave. Yeah. No, I mean, I think, surfing's helped me a lot as leader, but really in business in general. I mean, you get slammed down daily, weekly, monthly, So I think knowing that every big crashing wave is going to pass over you and you'll be able to resurface from that is a huge lesson that I think leaders and business owners, you have to learn that calm in the storm, take a deep breath, and the next wave could be a whole lot better, or you could be more in the right position if you pay more attention. So.
It was interesting even today, getting out there is wave after wave, and I couldn't get out, I couldn't get out.
And it messes with your head, right? Like at some point you're like, screw it, I'm not gonna do it.
Exactly.
Right? So I think growing up surfing, you realize, like, actually you're closer than you think. You always, there's that moment where you're like, want a break, and usually that's when you're just about to get outside. So if you just couple more duck dives and you'll be there, I think knowing that is true helps you in business, because it's the same thing. You want a break. There's moments on a project or a specific season of business where you just feel like it's too much, but it's always when you're on the brink of something great. So you have to just keep paddling.
Well, and I think it's funny because then when I was out there, I was this calm and peace. And you feel the sense of accomplishment, and it's almost like you forget what it was like to be pounded day after day after day.
It's amazing, the fairy dust of memory. you just let that go.
How do you stay motivated to keep growing and developing once you've reached a spot where you feel comfortable?
Yeah, well, I think you're always learning. I mean, the ocean, just like business, is different every day. So, and the more observant you can be when you're paddling out, like even now, I'm trying to do it better every time. Like, can I duck dive a little better? Can I find a better channel? Can I, you're always tweaking your own skills and abilities, even in just getting outside. And it's the same with business. Even though you start to get comfortable with something, there's always a better way to do it, or there's always a more efficient way, or there's always a more I don't know. There's always improvement, and I think in any sport, in any outdoor activity, there's always some level of improvement and personal development that can happen every time you go. So it's the same in business too. And I think one big thing with leaders in business today especially is that it is a long game, and I think a lot of people forget that. And that's another thing that surfing has taught me, is that I've been surfing since I was 10, and I still have a lot to improve upon. But I think knowing that you might go out and have a whole session where you don't get a win. You might never catch anything, or you might catch something and get slammed. And your next session might be great. You might catch 5 or 6 amazing waves. So I think knowing that, your curve's going to look a little like this on the way to learning your sport, similar with business. So,
last question, why surfing?
Well, like I said before, you can't bring your phone out there. I think that's good. I've been surfing since I was 10. I'm just a water person. I love water. But really, I think, it is different every time you go. I love a lot of outdoor activities. Sometimes, like with mountain biking, you're gonna you always have to try and find a new trail because you've done that one before. Like surfing, you can go back to the same spot every single day, and you have a totally different session. So I think I like the intrigue in that, and just the fact that it's always different. But for me, it's the therapeutic element of getting away from land and being connected to nature in a very immersive way, where you have to be one with it, or it'll keep you humble.
As we saw today.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Jen.
Yeah, it was great chatting with you. I think more leaders need to value the outdoor experience, and I love what you guys are doing. So.
Thanks. We love what you're doing. Thank you for getting out there, getting us out there today.
Yeah, let's go again sometime.
Definitely.